The story opens at High-C Private High School, where Rintaro Shido sits in class with the school's famous idol, Rei Odasaki. Because of her mixed background, Rei has a unique beauty that makes her stand out, and almost everyone in the school admires her. While others are completely drawn to her, Rintaro stays calm and uninterested, simply observing the attention she gets. As Rei politely handles classmates asking for autographs, he casually talks with his friend Yukio Inaba, who often gets mistaken for a girl. During their chat, he mentions how Rei's popularity never seems to fade. Rintaro brings up how her group, Molesta, is doing incredibly well, gaining huge views and even attention from overseas. The conversation then turns to Rintaro's own life when Yukio asks about his part-time job. Rintaro reveals that he recently picked up a short-term job that pays really well. Yukio finds it funny since Rintaro always talks about wanting a life where he doesn't have to work at all. Rintaro explains that his cousin, the manga artist Ugetsu Ichiko-sensei, has become extremely successful, and her team can't keep up with the workload. So, he decided to step in and help. Even so, Rintaro repeats his true dream to marry a hardworking woman and live as a full-time house husband. He imagines himself cooking, cleaning, and taking care of the home, doing everything he can to avoid a life of endless work. Yukio can't understand how serious Rintaro is about this dream, especially since he doesn't even have a partner to support that kind of life. As class continues, Rintaro glances over at Rei, quietly wondering if someone who seems so perfect could be hiding any struggles. Suddenly, Rei notices him staring and looks back at him, her expression thoughtful and hard to read. Later that day, Rintaro heads to his cousin's studio, bringing along some refreshments. When he arrives, he greets Yuzuki and thanks her for all the effort she's been putting into the work. The exhausted manga artist, who hasn't slept for 2 whole days, gratefully takes the energy drink from him. As her assistant, Rintaro can't help but scold her for pushing herself too hard and ignoring her health, but he still sits down and gets to work. While going through her handwritten drafts, he starts to understand why she sticks to such detailed and time-consuming methods, even with strict deadlines hanging over her. When the work finally wraps up, Yuzuki sincerely thanks him for always being dependable. Rintaro casually tells her he'll come back anytime she needs help, then heads home for the day. On his way back, he spots a fancy car moving through his neighborhood, which feels out of place. To his surprise, Rei steps out trying to stay hidden with a hat and glasses, though she's still wearing her school uniform. Realizing that the school idol actually lives nearby, Rintaro decides it's best to ignore her to avoid any rumors or trouble. But just as he tries to walk past, he notices her stumbling like she's about to fall. Acting quickly, he rushes forward and catches her before she hits the ground. In her dazed state, Rei softly says his name, leaving Rintaro shocked that she even knows who he is. Panicking, he quickly asks if she's hurt or if he should call an ambulance. She calmly refuses, explaining that she's just hungry. Right on cue, her stomach growls loudly, making the situation even more awkward and leaving Rintaro completely speechless. He's stunned to realize she nearly collapsed just because she hadn't eaten. Letting out a nervous laugh, he admits he thought something much more serious was wrong, while she quietly pulls her hand away. Feeling the tension, Rintaro drops the formal tone and sits down beside her, lightly teasing her by asking if being hungry is really enough to knock her out like that. Rei looks surprised by how casually he speaks to her. When he asks why she didn't eat anything, she explains that her schedule is packed non-stop with recordings and interviews, leaving her no time to even grab a meal. Hearing this, Rintaro finally understands just how exhausting and demanding life is for someone at the top of the celebrity world. As the noise around them starts getting louder and more people begin to gather, Rintaro realizes it's only a matter of time before someone recognizes the famous idol. Not wanting to leave his classmate in such a weak condition, he quickly decides to step in. Picking up her bags, he gives her 2 options. He can take her to a nearby diner or bring her to his apartment and cook something for her himself. To his surprise, Rei immediately climbs onto his back, saying she wants to try his cooking instead. As he carries her, Rintaro tries his best not to think about how close they are. To keep his mind distracted, he casually mentions that he has some pork at home that needs to be used before it expires. Rei happily agrees and even points forward like she's giving orders, which makes him wonder why she suddenly seems like she's in charge. When they reach his apartment, he briefly explains that he lives alone. He gently sets her down on the sofa and even takes off her shoes for her. Rei thanks him softly before lying down to rest. Rintaro puts on an apron and asks what kind of dish she would like. She requests shogayaki, a ginger pork dish. He lets her know that the rice is instant and will take a little time, and she nods without any complaints. Moving quickly, Rintaro starts cooking, and soon the rich smell of the food fills the room, instantly grabbing Rei's attention. The moment the meal is ready, she takes a bite and her eyes light up in amazement. Completely absorbed in the taste, she begins eating at an incredible speed, calling it the best food she has ever had. In no time, her bowl is completely empty. Curious, Rei asks if he always cooks for himself. Rintaro explains that cooking helps him save money for daily life and for his future wife. He then shares his dream of becoming a house husband, someone who supports his partner by making delicious and healthy meals every day. After a short pause, Rei smiles warmly and praises him from the heart, saying it's admirable that he's working so hard toward his dream. Rintaro is left stunned, as he expected her to laugh at him instead. But to Rei, his dream feels genuine and meaningful, something entirely different from the usual ambitions people have, even compared to those in the idol world. All of a sudden, a TV interview featuring the idol group Molesta starts playing in the room. As Rei sees herself on the screen, she calmly shares that becoming an idol has been her dream since she was a child. She also says that she truly respects people who work hard for what they want and wishes to support them however she can. Hearing this, Rintaro feels something shift inside him and admits that today might be the first time he's actually become her fan. Rei responds with a gentle smile, saying that she has become his fan too, and even adds that she wants to come over and eat his cooking again. But Rintaro quickly shuts that idea down. He explains that if a famous idol like her is seen getting close to an ordinary high school boy, it could cause a huge scandal and damage her reputation, something he refuses to be responsible for. Rei looks a bit down but understands his reasoning and accepts it. Trying to stay practical, Rintaro tells her that it's better for both of them to keep their distance outside of school. Noticing how late it has gotten, he offers to walk her home safely. However, Rei quietly resists. When he asks her to say it clearly, he's shocked to realize that she actually plans to stay the night. Rintaro immediately scolds her, stressing how serious it would be for an idol to sleep over at a guy's house. He questions her lack of awareness about the risks and firmly insists that she go home, no matter how tired she feels. Rei lowers her head and apologizes softly, admitting she can't argue with him and will listen. Rintaro then calls a cab for her, all while wondering how he ended up lecturing a celebrity like this. Wanting to set clear boundaries, he suggests they both forget what happened today and go back to being nothing more than classmates. Still, he gently adds that he's happy she enjoyed his cooking, as it gave him a bit more confidence in himself. Rei smiles warmly, clearly touched by his words. After a brief pause, she shyly suggests a middle ground instead of acting like strangers. She hopes he will at least let her call him a friend. Rintaro's face turns red, realizing that no guy could easily turn down a request like that. After a moment, he agrees, admitting that being friends wouldn't be strange at all. As Rei leaves, promising that she'll see him at school, Rintaro is left completely drained. He can't help but wonder what someone like her could possibly gain from being friends with a guy like him. The next day at school, he watches her from a distance as she chats and laughs with her classmates like always. Letting out a quiet sigh of relief, he figures that since she looks fine, she must have made it home safely. Just then, his best friend Yukio turns around and points out how unusual it is for Rintaro to be staring at Otasaki. Trying to act normal, Rintaro shrugs it off and says he was looking at her yesterday too. But Yukio isn't convinced and says the way he's looking at her now feels different. Rintaro brushes it off as nonsense, though deep down he knows his friend is way too observant for his own good. Right at that moment, his phone buzzes with a message from Yuzuki. It's urgent. The manga artist has discovered a mistake in her manuscript and needs his help immediately. Yukio jokingly complains about how lucky Rintaro is to work with a famous creator, but Rintaro can only think about how exhausted and overworked his cousin really is, silently disagreeing with him. After school, Rintaro rushes straight to Yuzuki's studio. She explains that she accidentally included a character who wasn't supposed to appear and ended up drawing them into an entire chapter. On top of that, she had already sent her assistants home. Letting out a tired sigh, Rintaro agrees to help fix everything. Encouraged by the promise of extra pay, he tells her to stop apologizing and focus on getting the work done. As they push through the corrections, Yuzuki complains that her fingers have gone numb, while Rintaro notices she looks completely lifeless, like a zombie. By the time he finally leaves, it's already 11 at night. On his way home, he starts thinking about what he should make for dinner. When he reaches the lobby of his apartment building, he's about to head upstairs when he spots a strange figure sitting curled up in the corner, wearing a hoodie, mask, and glasses. Feeling suspicious, Rintaro carefully walks closer, only to be shocked when the person reveals themselves. It's Rei. She pulls down her mask, showing her face, and it turns out she's been waiting there all this time, hoping to ask him for a favor. Rintaro is completely surprised by how persistent Rei is, but he still lets her come inside so he can hear what she wants. Once they're in his apartment, he makes her coffee just the way she likes it. Extra sugar with a bit of milk. Holding the cup, Rei admits that she hasn't been able to stop thinking about his cooking all day and really wants to eat it again. She explains that the bento she eats during lunch or backstage don't even come close to the meal he made for her. Rintaro feels a little embarrassed by the praise, but he tries to stay logical. He refuses her request, explaining that if anyone sees them together, it could seriously damage her career. On top of that, he adds that cooking for 2 people would increase his expenses, making it harder for him to save money for his future, especially if he never ends up getting married. Without saying much, Rei quietly opens her purse and places a thick stack of cash on the table. She offers to pay him 300,000 yen every month, along with covering all the food costs, just so he can cook for her every day. Rintaro is left speechless. Realizing he's being tempted by money, he asks if she can really afford something like that. Rei calmly lists her upcoming commercials, strong music sales, and concert income as proof that she has no problem paying. When he still seems unsure, Rei tilts her head and asks if the amount isn't enough, even offering to raise it to 500,000 yen. Panicking, Rintaro quickly tells her to stop and accepts the original deal right away. He admits that he genuinely needs the money to survive and is also happy that she appreciates his cooking that much. Still, he sets one strict rule: she must be very careful not to get caught coming to his apartment. Rei agrees without hesitation, saying she wants to keep being an idol no matter what. She then holds out her pinky finger to seal their agreement. Rintaro can't help but think she's a little crazy for paying such a huge amount just to eat his cooking. But at the same time, he realizes he's just as crazy for accepting the offer. The two make a pinky promise, and the very next moment, Rei excitedly demands curry right away. Rintaro agrees to cook the curry, but lets her know it will take some time to prepare. Rei casually brushes it off and says she'll just stay the night. Her sudden statement completely throws him off, but she calmly explains her reasoning. Since she hired him to cook for her every day, that should include breakfast too. If she goes home now and comes back in the morning, she'll lose valuable sleep. Rintaro quickly shuts that idea down, firmly saying that a high school boy and girl living together is a bad idea, especially since she's a well-known idol. In response, Rei quietly pulls out more money from her bag and places it in front of him. She increases her offer to 500,000 yen per month and promises to be extra careful so no one finds out. Rintaro is stunned. Faced with such a huge amount, his resolve instantly crumbles. He even apologizes to himself for giving in so easily, but also reasons that no normal cooking job would ever pay this much. Now fully committed, Rintaro decides not to hold back on the ingredients. He picks out high-quality potatoes and begins preparing a Japanese-style curry, adding soy sauce and dashi for depth, along with a bit of yakiniku sauce as his secret touch. Once everything is cooked perfectly and plated nicely, he serves the dish to Rei. Her eyes light up with excitement as she says she's been waiting for this. Rintaro explains that he adjusted the flavor to better match a traditional Japanese taste, hoping she'll like it. Rei thanks him for the meal and immediately starts eating. Within seconds, she begins praising how delicious it is. Watching her reaction, Rintaro smiles, noticing how genuinely happy she looks. The way her eyes shine as she eats makes him realize she isn't just being polite. She truly loves his cooking. Even though he served a large portion, she finishes it in no time and asks for another serving. Rintaro is left confused, wondering where all that food even goes considering how slim she is. Rei casually explains that idols need a lot of energy to keep up with their intense training and schedules. Hearing that, Rintaro thinks that if she eats this much, maybe this job and the money that comes with it might actually be worth all the effort. While washing the dishes, Rintaro hears Rei thank him once again. Still, something about the situation bothers him, so he asks why she would choose to eat such simple home-cooked food when she can easily afford much fancier meals. He even admits that getting paid 500,000 yen just to cook for her and letting her stay over makes him feel like he's cheating the system. Rei quietly opens up and explains that although her family is rich, her parents are always busy and rarely at home. Most of her meals were made by a housekeeper, but no matter how perfect the food was, it never felt warm or comforting to her. Looking straight at Rintaro, she softly admits that the rice he made felt warmer than anything she's ever eaten, and that it made her truly happy. Hearing this, Rintaro feels a bit embarrassed and awkwardly brushes it off, saying it's nothing special. Trying to change the topic, he checks the time and suggests that she should take a bath, offering to prepare the hot water for her. He also apologizes, mentioning that he only has men's shampoo at home. But Rei calmly tells him she already brought her own toiletries, as if she had planned everything ahead. Then Rintaro brings up her sleepwear, pointing out that sleeping in a hoodie would be very comfortable. Without hesitation, Rei says she'll just borrow one of his t-shirts. This catches him completely off guard, but she casually explains that since it's his size, it will be loose enough to wear like a dress. She also adds that she doesn't like wearing tight clothes to sleep because they feel uncomfortable. Rintaro's face turns bright red as he realizes how this situation sounds like something straight out of a romance story, where a girl wears her boyfriend's shirt. To him, she's acting just like a girlfriend, which makes him even more nervous. Worried about her lack of caution, he warns her that she's being too careless and that men can be dangerous. Rei simply looks at him and asks if he's one of those dangerous men too. Rintaro quickly denies it, saying he would never do anything like that to his employer, especially since it's his responsibility to take care of her. Rei responds calmly, saying that while people who care about money can sometimes be scary, in this case, it actually makes her feel safe, because she knows he won't cross the line. Out of nowhere, Rei suddenly asks him directly if he likes her body too. The question hits Rintaro so hard that he nearly chokes, spitting out the water he was drinking. Rei then admits that lately, people at school and work have been looking at her in a way that makes her uncomfortable, focusing too much on her appearance. She quietly shares that she wishes people would value her for her singing and dancing instead. In his thoughts, Rintaro realizes that people probably stare because she has grown from a slim beginner into a more mature and eye-catching high school girl. But instead of saying that, he chooses his words carefully. He reassures her that while her looks may have helped her start out, they aren't what truly define her. He sincerely praises her singing and dancing, saying he can tell how much effort and practice she puts in. He also mentions that her pure and genuine personality adds to her charm, and it's the mix of all these qualities that makes her special. Hearing this, Rei smiles softly and thanks him. After that, Rei heads to the bathroom to take a shower. Rintaro stays outside, listening to the sound of running water, suddenly realizing that this is the first time someone else is using a shower. Feeling a bit awkward, he goes to his wardrobe to pick out a t-shirt for her. Deciding that comfort matters more than style, he chooses a large one, especially one with his personal motto printed on it, "I do not want to work." Thinking he should hurry, Rintaro walks toward the bathroom to give it to her. Just as he's about to knock, the door suddenly opens from the inside. At that exact moment, the towel wrapped around Rei slips off. Rintaro freezes in shock for a split second before quickly turning around. Panicking and avoiding looking at her, he hurriedly hands over the t-shirt while apologizing over and over, insisting he didn't see anything, and tells her to get dressed and use the hairdryer in the living room. A little later, after Rei changes and starts drying her hair, Rintaro steps into the bathroom. He notices that her soft fragrance still lingers in the air. Sitting back down, he awkwardly repeats that he really didn't see anything. Rei, however, brushes it off calmly, saying it was just an accident and that he doesn't need to worry about it at all. The two of them relax and start watching TV, which just so happens to be showing a Molesta performance. As Rintaro watches, he wonders if Rei ever feels awkward seeing herself on screen. Out of nowhere, Rei quietly comments that she should have moved her arms wider during a certain part of the performance. Rintaro tells her she's overthinking it, saying no one would notice something that small. But Rei suddenly stands up and shows him the exact difference between what she did and what she thinks she should have done. Rintaro is caught off guard by how serious she becomes. Seeing her act so focused and professional right in front of him reminds him that she truly is a top idol, someone whose thoughts are hard to fully understand. After a while though, her energy fades and she starts getting sleepy, her head slowly nodding. Rintaro gently suggests that it's time for her to go to bed. Rei agrees, saying that the warm meal and relaxing bath made her feel like she was staying at a traditional ryukan. She tries to lie down on the sofa, but Rintaro immediately stops her, insisting that someone like her shouldn't sleep on a couch. Instead, he guides her to his bedroom. The moment she gets there, Rei happily jumps onto the bed, enjoying how soft it is. Then, without hesitation, she invites Rintaro to join her so they can sleep together. Completely flustered, Rintaro loudly refuses and tells her to just go to sleep since she has work the next day. Rei casually replies that she has good sleeping habits and falls asleep almost instantly. Rintaro carefully covers her with a blanket before heading back to the sofa, feeling worn out from everything that happened today. As he drifts off to sleep, he once again has the same dream he's had many times before, his younger self asking his mother where she's going. In the dream, she answers coldly that she wants to be free, leaving him behind. He wakes up, realizing it's the same painful dream again. But as he becomes fully aware, he remembers that he's now living in a reality where Rei Otasaki exists, and somehow that makes his real life feel more like a dream than the nightmare he just saw. After freshening up, Rintaro goes to wake Rei and knocks on the bedroom door. When there's no response, he slowly opens it, only to be shocked by what he sees. Her sleeping position is a complete mess, nothing like the neat posture she confidently claimed to have before. Feeling flustered, Rintaro quickly pulls the blanket over Rei, trying not to think too much about whether she's wearing anything under his oversized shirt. He gently calls out, telling her to wake up. Rei slowly opens her eyes, still half asleep, clearly not someone who enjoys mornings. A little later, Rintaro asks how she likes her sunny-side-up eggs. Rei says she prefers them slightly runny. As he cooks, she watches closely and comments on how delicious everything looks. Once the food is ready, they both say thanks for the meal and begin eating. Just like before, Rei can't stop praising how good it tastes. Rintaro explains that he added extra seasoning to the bacon so it pairs well with the rest of the breakfast, and he encourages her to eat properly so she can have enough energy for her training. After finishing her meal, Rei suddenly announces that she has come up with a new idea. The moment she says that, Rintaro gets a bad feeling. Rei explains that it's inconvenient to have breakfast together when they live in different places, so she suggests that they should rent a new apartment and live together. Rintaro was completely shocked, thinking that, as usual, she's come up with something totally unreasonable. He firmly refuses the idea right away. When Rei asks why, he calmly explains that if she suddenly stops living alone, people will start asking questions, and it could cause serious trouble for her public image. Rei admits that he has a point, and the idea might be risky, so they both agree to drop it for now. As Rintaro watches her, he can't help but think she's a bit like a carefree pet that needs guidance, making him wonder who's really in control here. While finishing her breakfast, Rei happily says it's the best meal she's ever had in the morning. Rintaro confidently tells her to leave everything to him since he's her personal chef now. Then Rei makes another request. She wants him to call her by her first name, Rei, and says she'll call him Rintaro in return. He objects, reminding her that she's the employer and he's just working for her. But Rei insists, saying it's an order and that it will help them feel closer. Rintaro blushes at the idea but eventually gives in. In the end, the two agree to start calling each other by their first names from now on. About a week passes since their strange new arrangement began, and the two slowly fall into a routine. They make sure to go to school at different times, wear simple disguises, and return home separately so no one gets suspicious. Rei doesn't stay over every night either. Sometimes her manager comes to pick her up, which actually gives Rintaro a bit of relief. On busy days, he prepares a breakfast bento for her, though she often looks a little sad when she has to leave. To avoid raising questions, she tells her housekeeper that she's staying over at a friend's place, almost like a girl secretly hiding a new boyfriend. The problem of where to sleep gets solved in a surprising way when Rei casually buys a brand new sofa bed, leaving Rintaro stunned by how easily she can spend money. Soon after, the scene shifts to High-C Private High School during a PE class where students are playing volleyball. As Rintaro watches Rei move around the court, he realizes he's starting to get used to this unusual lifestyle. Yukio Inaba notices the change in him and comments that Rintaro seems more relaxed and even a bit lazier than before. Rintaro shrugs it off, saying his living conditions have simply improved. Yukio narrows his eyes and jokingly asks if he got himself a girlfriend. Rintaro immediately denies it, strongly stating that he has no plans to date unless he finds someone willing to support him for life. Hearing that, Yukio laughs in relief, thinking it was just a misunderstanding. At that moment, Rei spikes the volleyball with impressive strength and precision, earning cheers from the girls around her. Rintaro notes to himself that she's naturally athletic, performing just as well as someone in a sports club. But when she jumps to hit the ball again, some of the boys nearby make inappropriate comments about her body. Hearing this, Rintaro feels uneasy. When Yukio asks what's bothering him, Rintaro brushes it off by joking that he's just relieved there are people even more shameless than he is. Yukio giggles at the comment, but deep down, Rintaro knows that looking down on them wouldn't make him any better. Later, during lunch break, Rintaro opens his bento, and Yukio immediately reacts with amazement, praising how delicious and well-made it looks. Rintaro explains to Yukio that he actually prepares different meals for himself and Rei so no one gets suspicious that the same person cooked both. He even shares some of his nikujaga, a warm meat and potato stew, with his friend. Meanwhile, a group of students gathers around Rei, admiring how beautiful her lunch looks. Seeing all the attention makes Rintaro a bit nervous, but Rei handles it smoothly by saying she made it herself. Her classmates are impressed that she still finds time to cook despite her busy idle schedule. Yukio then notices Rintaro's expression and asks why he looks so proud. Rintaro admits he can't help it, his cooking really is that good. And even if people don't know it's his, it still feels nice to be praised. Later that evening at home, Rei suddenly apologizes while Rintaro is washing dishes. Confused, he stops and asks what she means. Rei explains that she feels bad for taking credit for the bento he made. But Rintaro reassures her, saying it's actually better this way since a small lie helps keep their arrangement a secret. However, Rei then admits that she didn't keep it a secret from everyone. She told the other members of Molesta about him. Rintaro reacts in shock, reminding her that he specifically asked her not to tell anyone. Rei calmly responds that Mia and Kanan aren't just anyone, they're her close teammates, and she trusts them completely. After thinking it over, Rintaro calms down and realizes that the other members wouldn't risk their own careers by exposing something that could cause trouble for their group. In the end, he decides to trust Rei's judgment. Rei then asks him for another favor. Since they have a self-practice session at the studio the next day, she wants him to prepare bentos for all three of them and bring the food there. Rintaro is surprised by the request but eventually agrees. The next day, at the Fantasia Entertainment Studio in Shin-Nishuku, Mia and Kanon are busy practicing. Kanon mentions that their guest should arrive soon and jokingly says she won't accept the food if it doesn't live up to Rei's high praise. At the same time, Mia quietly wonders what kind of person could have influenced Rei this much and feels curious to meet him. As Rintaro arrives at the entertainment agency, he looks around and starts to doubt himself, wondering if an ordinary guy like him really belongs in a place like this. Rintaro walks up to the reception desk and tells them he has an appointment with Rei Odasaki at noon. After waiting for a short while, Rei herself comes down to pick him up. The moment he sees her, he's surprised by how different she looks. But he keeps it to himself and quietly follows her to the elevator. As they ride up, Rei explains that the building is complicated, so she'll guide him personally. Rintaro keeps glancing at her, feeling like something about her seems a little different from usual. They step out and walk through long hallways filled with studios designed for music artists. Feeling a bit out of place, Rintaro suggests that he could just hand over the bentos and leave, but Rei refuses, saying the other two members are really looking forward to meeting him. She opens the door, and inside, Mia and Kanon are already waiting. Rintaro instantly realizes he's standing face to face with the members of Molesta. Kanon is the first to approach him. She apologizes for being a bit forward, explaining that Rei's been going on and on about how amazing his food is. As Rintaro looks at her, he notices her cute, youthful face, bright eyes, and her signature red twin tails. Even though she's the same age as him, her small build makes her seem younger, matching her energetic and cheerful personality. Then Mia steps forward and politely apologizes for the trouble, saying she was simply curious about the person Rei has gotten so close to. Rintaro observes her carefully and sees a completely different type of charm. She's more cool and elegant than cute. Her sharp features and balanced appearance give her a prince-like aura, which explains why she's so popular, especially among female fans. Deciding to play it safe, Rintaro switches to a polite and respectful tone, saying it's an honor to have idols he supports try his cooking. But both girls suddenly look surprised. Kanon quickly calls him out, revealing that Rei has already told them everything about him, especially how he acts nice on the surface but is actually kind of blunt and rude. Rintaro immediately turns to Rei, asking if she seriously exposed him like that. Before she can respond, Mia cuts in, telling him there's no point pretending anymore. Then Kanon casually calls him by his first name, which catches him off guard. He asks why she's being so familiar when they just met, but she fires back, saying he should feel honored, assuming he's a fan of theirs anyway. When Rintaro plainly says he isn't her fan, Kanon immediately gets upset and calls him out for lying earlier. Rintaro, unfazed, warns her not to act so friendly with him right away. Kanon quickly argues back, saying that since Rei calls him by his first name, she should be allowed to do the same. Annoyed by her attitude, Rintaro shrugs and says that the bento is his, so he can do whatever he wants with it. He even threatens to take it and leave the studio. Hearing that, Kanon panics. Her confident attitude disappears instantly as she starts whining and even tearing up, begging him not to take the fruit away. Seeing her reaction, Rintaro can't help but smile, realizing she's actually pretty fun to mess with. But then he notices Rei standing quietly to the side, looking a bit lost. When he asks what's wrong, she pouts and says that he and Kanon seem to be getting along already. Kanon quickly teases her, asking if she's jealous that her close friend is bonding with someone else so fast. Rei honestly admits that she is a little jealous, pointing out that it took her much longer to get comfortable with him. Kanon is left speechless by how openly Rei says it. Rintaro, on the other hand, thinks to himself that Rei is so straightforward that her honest words often catch him off guard. Sensing the awkward mood, Mia steps in and calmly smooths things over, saying it's a good thing to make new friends. She warmly adds that she's happy to consider him a friend too. Rintaro questions whether she's being too careless by treating a random guy like that. Mia calmly asks if he dislikes it, then adds in a slightly mysterious tone that it doesn't really matter what she calls him. They'll end up becoming close friends anyway. Rintaro finds her both clever and persuasive, realizing she might be even harder to deal with than Rei. In a way, she reminds him of himself, when he bluntly tells her that he doesn't think they'll get along. Mia simply smiles and says she might actually like how honest he is. Rei then comments that she didn't expect Rintaro to communicate so well with others, surprised at how quickly he interacted with both of them. Rintaro immediately denies it, asking if something's wrong with her eyes for thinking they're getting along at all. Mia smiles warmly at everyone and suggests that they should all try to get along from now on. Rintaro nods and agrees, but deep inside he feels like he doesn't quite belong. As he looks at the three idols, he realizes they share a kind of understanding and connection that feels completely different from his own world. To him, it makes sense for the bento to be there, but not really for himself. Kanon and Mia stare at the beautifully prepared lunch in front of them, shocked to learn that Rintaro made everything by hand. They ask him in disbelief if he really cooked it all without using any pre-made ingredients. Rintaro calmly confirms that he prepared everything from scratch, especially for Rei. Kanon quickly takes it upon herself to judge whether he's truly capable of taking care of their leader's meals. She grabs a piece of fried chicken, takes a bite, and instantly freezes in shock at how good it tastes. Before she can even process it, she starts eating more, digging into the potato salad and omelets, loudly declaring how insanely delicious everything is. Watching her, Rintaro casually points out how fast she changed her attitude after one bite. Meanwhile, Mia also begins tasting the food, but her reaction is more composed. She carefully analyzes the flavors, describing them in detail as if she's reviewing a gourmet dish. Her explanation is so precise and positive that she confidently concludes they would definitely want Rintaro to keep cooking for Rei. Rintaro compliments her for describing it so perfectly. Finally, his eyes turn to Rei, who looks slightly nervous as she picks up her food. She takes a bite and then her face softens into a bright, genuine smile. Seeing that expression, Rintaro feels relieved. That simple, honest reaction is exactly what he likes about her. She's easy to read. After the meal, Kanon tries to act tough again, giving Rintaro only an average score. But when he points out how she couldn't stop eating, she immediately drops the act and excitedly admits the truth, that the food was amazing, almost as good as a premium short rib meal from a high-end yakiniku restaurant. She thanks him for all the effort he put into the meal, and Rintaro quietly realizes that even though Kanon acts a bit tough and stubborn, she can still give honest praise when she means it. Mia also compliments him, saying his cooking was even better than she expected. Rintaro admits that he tried extra hard because he didn't want them to think he wasn't skilled enough. Rei quickly finishes her food and thanks him as well. Rintaro is surprised by how fast she ate, but Rei casually says she can already feel the food turning into energy inside her body. Hearing that, Rintaro is left confused, not quite understanding how she works. Still, he begins packing up the empty lunchboxes, thinking his job is done and it's time to leave. Just as he's about to go, Mia stops him with a calm smile and invites him to stay and watch their practice. She explains that they're preparing for Molesta's upcoming second anniversary concert and are putting in a lot of effort. Kanon jumps in, saying this is a rare chance to see them perform for free, especially since their tickets are usually hard to get. Rintaro hesitates, planning to head home, but then he notices Rei looking at him with quiet, hopeful eyes. Unable to ignore her, he lets out a small sigh and agrees to stay, telling himself it's not a bad opportunity anyway. The three idols take their positions, and the studio quickly turns into a small, private stage just for him. Rei asks him to watch her carefully. As the music begins, Rintaro is instantly drawn in. To his surprise, even though they are three very different individuals, their movements match perfectly. Every step, every turn is in complete sync, and their expressions are sharp and professional. Watching them, Rintaro realizes that this perfect coordination is what makes them stand out so much. Even without an audience, their performance feels complete. As the music shifts from powerful songs to softer melodies, his attention stays fixed on Rei. But in that moment, as she shines on stage, he suddenly feels a strange distance, like she's no longer just the girl he knows, but someone far away, almost untouchable, like a star he can't reach. As the song comes to an end, the practice session is finally over. Rintaro stands there quietly, completely amazed by what he just witnessed. Even though Rei looks worn out from the performance, she still turns to him and asks what he thought. Rintaro claps and praises them honestly, calling it an incredible performance and thanking them for letting him watch. Noticing how much they're sweating, he realizes just how physically demanding it is to sing and dance non-stop like that. Kanon smirks and points out that he seems to respect them more now. Rintaro admits that she's right, his respect for them has definitely grown. When Kanon teases him for being awkward with compliments, he quickly shifts his attention to Mia and thanks her for the opportunity. Mia calmly responds that he's welcome to watch them anytime, as long as he keeps bringing lunch. She admits she's become quite interested in his cooking. Rintaro looks confused, unable to understand what's so special about something so simple. Mia explains that it's hard to describe, but his food has a certain warmth to it. She goes on to say that while being an idol is exciting, it also comes with a lot of pressure. Sometimes, she finds herself wishing for a normal high school life, and his homemade lunch gave her a small taste of that, something she truly appreciates. Hearing this, Rintaro finally begins to understand why Rei values his cooking so much. He looks at the three of them and notices that none of them disagree with what Mia said. In that moment, he realizes that even though they live very different lives, deep down, they're still just regular high school students. Before he leaves, they all exchange contact information. Mia reminds him that this is something private and warns him not to tell anyone. Rintaro agrees, promising to keep their secret safe. He then asks Rei about her plans, and when she says she'll continue with her usual schedule, he decides to head home early so he can start preparing dinner. As Rintaro walks home, he makes up his mind to talk to Rei about something important once she returns. He hopes she'll understand and accept what he has to say. Meanwhile, back at the studio, Rei asks Mia and Kanan if they've thought about her idea. Mia calmly says she doesn't see any issue with it. Kanan admits she wasn't fully on board at first, but after meeting Rintaro, she feels like he's someone they can trust. Hearing that, Rei smiles with relief and thanks them, deciding she'll talk to him about it later that night. That evening, Rintaro finishes cooking dinner and calls out to Rei but suddenly stops when he sees her asleep, still holding a running hairdryer. Alarmed, he quickly rushes over, worried she might hurt herself or collapse from exhaustion. Just as she starts to slip, he catches both her and the hairdryer in time. Feeling flustered by how close they are, he gently lays her down on the sofa. Rei slowly wakes up as the smell of food reaches her, immediately exclaiming how amazing it smells. Rintaro chuckles, saying she must be starving. He serves dinner stuffed cabbage rolls with tomato soup. Rei happily says it's her favorite and starts eating right away, praising the taste with every bite. Rintaro explains that he steamed the cabbage for a long time to make it soft and tender. Watching her enjoy the extra portion he made, he feels a quiet sense of satisfaction. But once the meal is finished, Rintaro's expression suddenly becomes serious. He places the stack of money Rei had given him back on the table. Confused, Rei asks why. Looking straight at her, Rintaro tells her he wants to return the money and end their current agreement. Rei is shocked and doesn't understand what he means. Rintaro explains that he never touched the money because he wants to change the terms completely. He then lays out a new proposal with clear conditions. First, he removes the salary entirely and says he only needs enough to cover basic expenses, estimating that about 100,000 yen per month would be enough. For his second condition, Rintaro says he wants to reduce his workload a bit. He explains that he won't be able to cook on Wednesday nights or during the daytime on weekends because of his other part-time job, though he promises to prepare meals in advance when needed. Then he brings up his final and most important rule: Rei is not allowed to stay over unless there's absolutely no other choice. Rei clearly doesn't like this, especially the rule about not staying the night. The Rintaro doesn't back down. He firmly explains that it's not right for an unmarried boy and girl to be living together like that. He also opens up about his real concern. If anyone finds out and a scandal breaks out, it could destroy her dream and ruin his future too. He doesn't want to live with that kind of pressure hanging over him. He continues, saying that taking such a large salary makes the relationship feel too much like a business, like he's just running a service instead of helping her personally. If he keeps relying on the money, he's afraid the warmth between them will disappear. What they need, he says, is mutual care and understanding, not obligation, like how a real couple would support each other. When he notices Rei quietly staring at him without saying anything, Rintaro starts to worry that he might have gone too far. But to his surprise, she agrees. She softly admits that what he said makes sense. Even though going back and forth between places is tiring, she accepts his reasoning. Then, out of nowhere, Rei suggests a new idea. She says she plans to start living on her own, but with a twist. She explains that it's already been arranged with her family and the other members of Malaysta that the three of them will rent an entire floor in an apartment building. The floor has 4 rooms and even a private hallway, giving them complete privacy. Since there's one extra room available, Rei casually suggests that Rintaro move in there. Hearing this, Rintaro completely panics. He says the idea is way too sudden and unrealistic. He starts worrying about things like rent, background checks, and how Mia and Kanan would feel about having a random guy living on the same floor. Rei calmly reassures him, saying she'll take care of the rent and that both Mia and Kanan have already agreed to the plan. Rei explains that the reason she brought him to the studio earlier was so Mia and Kanan could meet him and judge for themselves. And according to her, he passed their test. When Rintaro thinks about it, he realizes the new place is actually close to both his school and his part-time job, which makes it pretty convenient. Rei then casually tells him to be ready to move by the end of next week. The scene then shifts to school, where Rintaro suddenly wakes up after being shaken by Yukio. He's shocked to realize he slept through the first 2 classes. Yukio looks at him with concern and points out how exhausted he seems, even suggesting he go rest in the infirmary. but Rintaro shakes his head and explains that he stayed up late packing since he's moving out. Yukio looks a bit disappointed, saying he was hoping to visit his place soon, especially to see Rintaro cooking in an apron. Still, his mood quickly lifts when he remembers they have a cooking class during the next 2 periods. In the home economics room, everyone puts on their aprons and gets ready. That's when Rintaro realizes he forgot to prepare his own lunch because he was so busy packing. The teacher then tells the class to form groups of 6. Rintaro finds this a bit annoying, but before he can think too much about it, Yukio is quickly surrounded by a group of girls. One of them, Miyamoto, who clearly seems to have a crush on Yukio, invites him to join their group, and her friends support the idea. Rintaro encourages Yukio to go with them, saying he'll manage on his own. Even though Yukio hesitates and admits he wanted to cook together, he eventually gives in and joins the group. Now left alone, Rintaro realizes he needs to find a group quickly. Just then, 2 classmates, Kakihara and the Kaido, walk up to him and ask if he wants to join them. Rintaro turns around and is momentarily stunned by Kakihara's striking appearance. He's a first-year student with a cool, handsome look, the kind of guy people would call a perfect Eichmann. There are even rumors that he got scouted and became a model. Even though Kakihara seems friendly and they're in the same class, Rintaro feels a bit hesitant about getting close to him. Being around someone who seems so perfect only makes him more aware of his own flaws. Kakihara warmly welcomes Rintaro into the group, mentioning that they now have 5 people and only need 1 more to complete the team. A girl then steps forward and introduces herself as Nakaido Azuki. She explains that she's Kakihara's close friend and also the class representative for 2A. With her calm and elegant appearance, she gives off a traditional Japanese beauty that feels different from Rei's charm. She's also known for being one of the top students in the class, always ranking near the top, so almost everyone recognizes her. Soon after, another girl joins them, Nogi Honaka, a cheerful Gyaru with dyed hair. She casually apologizes for not remembering Rintaro's name. Nogi is famous for her athletic skills and bright personality, though her grades aren't the best. She even grabs a tomato, takes a bite, and casually comments on how good it tastes. Watching them, Rintaro notices that even though Nakaido and Nogi seem completely different, they're actually very close friends. Then, a tall and muscular boy named Dumoto Ryuji joins the group with a big smile, happily pointing out that the number of boys and girls is now balanced. He's part of the judo club, and is known as the strongest guy in their grade, someone no one would dare challenge. But despite his strength, he's also known for sleeping through class, which explains why his grades are the lowest. At that moment, Rintaro starts to realize something he was likely added just to fill the final spot and what is basically a group made up of some of the most well-known students in class. Curious about who the last member is, he looks over and his guess is confirmed. It's Rei Otasaki. Rei greets him politely, and Rintaro responds the same way, though he can't shake the feeling that he doesn't really belong among such popular people.